6:05 on August 20th. I call this regular meeting of the Montgomery County Board of County Commissioners to order. We're pleased tonight to have Belinda Stewart, who is a member of the County Finance Department, here to offer our invocation. Belinda served as our in-house pastor for several years, and we certainly thank her for all she does for the county. Belinda, would you please offer our request for divine guidance on this meeting tonight?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we pause to pray this evening, first of all, we want to thank you for all you've done for us. God, we are so blessed. You have provided many things for us. You've been so good to us. Lord, you've provided a way for us to enter into the throne room of heaven boldly and make our requests known. It is indeed a privilege to pray. And God, you've instructed us in your word that we should pray for those that are in authority. Forgive us for neglecting this, God, because so often we want to grumble, we want to complain, we want to pass judgment for those that are in positions that make decisions that govern us. God, forgive us for this. Lord, we pray tonight that you would give them understanding, that you would give them wisdom and grant them knowledge. Lord, we pray also that you would give them strength and courage to face the challenges that they face in the positions that they hold. Help them to understand, Lord, the significance of their position and the impact that their decisions and choices make. And God, we thank you for all these things, and we ask it in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you again, Belinda. Mr. Woodard, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
It would be my pleasure. If you are able, please rise and join us in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance today. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next item is the approval of the business to be discussed by the board tonight. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Henson. Is there any debate? If not, Commissioner Mack just seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. There are 3 public hearings scheduled for tonight's meeting, 2 rezonings and 1 for naming a road. Other than those topics, is there anyone present who wishes to address the Board of Commissioners? Okay. Mr. Woodard, would you go
I
over
will
the
be
rules?
delighted to read the rules of the public comment period. Public comment period shall be for the purpose of allowing members of the public to comment on county business or items on the Board of Commissioners' agenda. This period shall not serve as a forum for debate with the commissioners. Remarks should be addressed directly to the board and not to staff, audience, or the media. The chairperson shall open the public comment period. Any person who wishes to speak will please approach the podium and announce his or her name for the record and their physical address prior to making comment. Any citizen desiring to comment on a matter of public interest within the authority of this board to legislate in an open forum shall be allocated 3 minutes time. Citizens may yield their time on a topic by utilizing no more than 2 other citizens' time slots. So 2 folks can volunteer their 3 minutes to give you up to 9. The county manager, that's me, shall notify the chairman upon the expiration of the allocated time.
Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak in the public forum other than the public hearings that we have tonight?
I have an animal control issue.
Okay, if you would, give us your name and address, please.
My name is Clarence Dickerson. I live in Pine Haven Village, subdivision of Baden Lake. Our community has got very serious concerns about unsanitary conditions being allowed to persist, about people wanting to breed dogs in our community, and the county allowing it to go down. I got a breeder in my backyard that's been doing it for years. At the time, he said he had a breeder license. Here, a while back, we found out he lied. And the county's come out and sent him cease and desist orders. Well, he goes out and gets a high-powered lawyer. Now, the word getting back into the community is that they're wanting to let him keep 5 dogs. He's wanting to keep 5 dogs so he can breed and sell the puppies. We have a sewer system running straight down the street in front of his house. He's not going to hook up to the sewer system in order to run his breeding system so that the water can be treated instead of going across the neighbor's property. For years now, he's been breeding dogs. Up to one time, he had 30 dogs in his yard. Every time he runs to clean the pens, runs across his neighbor's yard. My neighbor behind my yard has got a cesspool in his yard. The flies and the mosquitoes are bad, and the area stinks. We want it to end. Seriously want it to end. I've got other people prepared to speak on the same issues. They are a dangerous breed, and they're pit bulls. They've killed other animals in the community before, even the other ones that's in the cages with them. We want it gone. Now, I don't see it on the agenda. While we got feedback saying that something was going to be considered about 5 dogs, this guy ain't got no plans to change how he's keeping his property clean. He's got 2 to 3 lots, 50 foot by 100. It ain't big enough for what he's trying to do. It's been considered or talked to him about moving out in the county and keep it away from a residential area where it won't become a nuisance. I have read in the county ordinance that there is a nuisance ordinance in that ordinance that keeps stench, feces, urine off of your neighbor's property from the dogs that you're trying to keep on your property. It's unsanitary. My neighbor can't even have a cookout in his backyard. Can't even sit out on his back porch without the dogs wanting to accost him through the fence and the flies. He's been approached by the gentleman that's got the dogs, gave him a heart attack, put him in the hospital for a couple of weeks. It needs to go away. There's no place in a retirement community for anybody wanting to breed a dangerous breed of dogs. Anybody in here that wants to retire in a retirement area like that, you don't want to walk down the road and be accosted through the fence by pit bulls. It's uncomfortable. I live on the street. Every time somebody comes walking down the street, they have to put up with pit bulls wanting to try and eat them through the fence. So they only come down through my yard or my road one time, and that's it. Nobody in America or in Montgomery County should have to put up with anything like that. I don't see any special ordinances that are needed. If you guys would read the nuisance order or the part of the county, you'll read in there that the dogs cannot be a nuisance to anybody else in the neighborhood. When he breeds the dogs give the pups. When the dog pups are separated from the mom, you can't sleep for 3 days because the mama dog has to whine and pine for 3 days. It's a mess. They've been given an order to shut the situation down. I don't know why they still got the dogs. Be nice if y'all could help. These people are going to tell you the same thing. They've seen the other dogs killing other dogs in pens, have you not? I'll let them speak for whatever they want to speak for.
My name is Robert Garrison. I have a place at 125 Island View Drive in Pine Haven Community, across from Clarence and Ketty Corner across the street from the gentleman we're speaking about. The stench from this is so overwhelming that you can't even sit in your yard in the evening and enjoy the outdoors because of the smell. And in the county ordinance, I looked at it, and there's one thing here that states about the solid waste is supposed to be removed. It's not being removed, it just gets washed over into other people's yards. There's a person next door to this guy that's been forced to sell their property because of the stench, and they just can't enjoy their place. You can't even show your property because if somebody comes out to look at it, the stench is so bad, you just can't stand it. And just to piggyback off what he's saying, I know in our bylaw, you cannot run a business, they have it on Facebook, that they breed, that they are breeders and selling these animals. So to me, they are running a business out of that neighborhood when you're not supposed to be doing it. And so if you just maybe look into it, you know, we pay a lot of money for the place where we stay down there, and you can't even go out and enjoy your own place where you live at. So it just needs to be looked at. Appreciate it if you could do something. Thank you.
Can I get my phone?
Yeah.
I left the phone with people.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak?
Chairman, if I may, and I know that's not what folks came out for tonight, that they would certainly like for the board to respond or myself to respond, but, and we have certainly heard the situation that they're subject to, but this is a matter of ongoing litigation. And so the advice of counsel is we cannot speak, or the board cannot speak at this time related to this matter.
Okay. All right, thank you. No other comments, and we'll close the public comment portion. There are three items on tonight's consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept these items?
Move to approve the consent agenda. A second.
Okay, it's been seconded by Commissioner Mack. Is there any debate on any of the items? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. The next items on our agenda are three public hearings before the Board of Commissioners. The first hearing is RZ-06-2019. This rezoning, if approved, would allow residential zone parcel on Highway 2427 to be used for commercial purposes. In his staff report, Mr. Gayhagen will elaborate on which commercial activities are permissible on commercially zoned property, and if the rezoning are within the parameters of the county's adopted land use plan. Mr. Gayhagen, would you come forward and give the staff report and the recommendation for this request?
Good evening. We do have two rezoning requests tonight. The first one is RZ-06-2019. Robert Nelson, who is in attendance tonight, is requesting the rezoning of 0.487 acres of property from residential 1 to commercial. The parcel is located at 1692 NC Highway 2427 East, Bisco, further defined as parcel identification number 755800448915. This matter was reviewed by the Planning Board on July 22nd, 2019. During that meeting, I reviewed Article 4, Section 2.1 of the zoning ordinance. This particular section establishes several policy guidelines a rezoning request must meet in order to receive favorable recommendation. The guidelines are as follows. I will read applicant statements. That's taken directly from the application provided in the agenda packet. Those statements are written by the applicant. Item A, the proposal will place all property similarly situated in the area in the same category or appropriate complementary categories. The applicant states that the property will complement categories within the immediate area. There is a junkyard across the highway from the property. The D.H. Griffin junkyard is within approximately 1,200 feet of the subject property. In some of these pictures, you can actually see it down the road. It's comprised of 7 separate industrially zoned properties. For context, the industrial zoning district in this county would also permit all commercial uses as well. Tommy's Barbecue and other commercial zoning uses and districts are located to the east, approximately 3,500 feet from this parcel. Item B, there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed classification would be in the general public interest and not merely in the interest of an individual or small group. The applicant states that the car lot will benefit the area by allowing the citizens of Montgomery County to have an honest and fair price point for cars to be purchased for their daily use. Please note that a rezoning request is not to consider any specific use stated by the applicant. It must consider all uses permitted within the district. Car lots, which would be determined as new and used auto sales in accordance with our zoning code, are conditional uses in the commercial district. Again, the applicant is free to state any proposed use, but they're under no legal obligation to follow through with that. And in this case, regardless of the outcome of the hearing, a car lot would not be a use permitted by right. It would be a conditional use and subject to additional review by the planning board and then later the Board of Commissioners. Permitted uses within the commercial district, however, are generally low impact and serve community needs. These are items such as grocery stores, hardware stores, banks, financial institutions, barbershops, restaurants, things that generally serve a purpose for the general community. That was included with the agenda packet as attachment 1, list of permitted and conditional uses in the commercial district. Item C, there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be appropriate in the area included in the proposed change. Again, when a new district designation is assigned, any use permitted in the district would be allowable so long as it meets district requirements and not merely uses which applicants state they intend to make of the property. The applicant states that this property has been used as a commercial property since it was originally built. It started out as a gas station and then changed over to a car lot, which was ran until a few years ago. Any legal nonconformity of the property, such as a car lot or a gas station, would be null and void on this parcel. If a legal nonconforming use, which would be any use conducted before the zoning code took place or before the property zoning designation was changed, is discontinued for any reason for a continuous period of 180 days, every future use of the premises shall be a conforming use. This property does front a major thoroughfare and was historically used for commercial uses, but the uses permitted, again, in the commercial district are low impact and serve community needs. Any more impactful uses would be conditional. Item D, there is convincing demonstration that the character of the neighborhood will not be materially and adversely affected by any use permitted in the change. The applicant states the character of the neighborhood will not be materially or adversely affected because the property was originally built in 1950 as a commercial property. Immediate surrounding area is predominantly made of residentially zoned properties. A current zoning map was included with the agenda packet towards the back that demonstrates the zoning of the area around the parcel. Industrial zoning is located nearby, as well as a 3.48 acre property on Jasper Drive, which is zoned as commercial. If you look at the current zoning map, it's a large purple piece of property just directly north of the D.H. Griffin scrapyard. The tax card for the property does indicate that the main building was constructed in 1950. However, to my knowledge, the property hasn't been utilized for commercial purposes since 2013. I think the car lot was probably open around when I moved here in 2012, but it hasn't been operated since about 2013. The proposed change, item D, the proposed change is in accord with any land use plan and sound planning principles. The applicant stated not applicable, which is acceptable. This question is in the code and written in all of the applications as it should be, but it's not a question that typically an applicant's going to be able to answer. It's more for staff to answer this question. But the future land use plan does appear to support additional commercial development in the area. The staff report would detail that, as well as some attachments included. Attachment 2 is a copy of the land use plan map and relevant policy sections. The area is within a special planning area. The special planning area does state that there is a additional economic growth expected in this special planning area. Interestingly, 2427 is designated as a scenic byway. In some areas, it doesn't look that way, but it is, and that is enforced. I speak with a gentleman every couple of months about billboards and things of that nature along that byway. Usually it's a third party farmed out by DOT, but they do enforce that. Historically, again, the property was used for commercial purposes. It certainly looks like a commercial building, so it never had any sort of residential use on it. The matter was reviewed by the planning board again on July 22nd, 2019. The planning board, upon finding that the 5 policy guidelines stipulated by Article 4, Section 2.1 had been met, and that the rezoning was consistent with the future land use plan, voted by unanimous vote of 3-0 to recommend approval of RZ 06-2019 to the Board of Commissioners. The planning board also adopted the consistency statement included with your agenda packet. Please note on this item that any motion to adopt, the consistency statement would need to be made prior to any sort of adoption or denial of the rezoning request. This is a strange quirk in the law. Counties are obligated to make the motion before. Cities have the ability to do it however they want to. So anyways, staff is prepared to answer any questions the board might have on this matter, and the applicant is also in attendance as well as the property owner.
Mr. Gahagan has reviewed the request and the recommendation for approval based on the county's adopted land use plan. As detailed in our packet, this rezoning request was previously approved by the county planning board. Are there any questions from the board to Mr. Gahagan?
Madam Chair, are the 3 structures in the picture on the property in question?
Yes, they are. They're in existence prior to, and I think the applicant can state to what sort of work they may be doing on that building. At least one of those buildings is a small storage building. I believe they stated during the planning board meeting they plan to get rid of that structure. Another one is a garage where the entire rear end of the garage has been, I guess, taken apart. It's not there anymore. But they'll be doing work, from my understanding, on the property if the rezoning is approved to improve the property and make it a little more sightly. So, but they are all located within that one property, yes. There's also a septic system out there. They'll have to go through review with the septic environmental health department before they do any sort of business on the property too.
Any other questions or comments?
Did I understand correctly that this was once either a used car business or a service station garage type?
I know for sure it was a used car dealership. I don't know anything about the gas station. The applicant stated it was, but I've not been able to find any information. But again, I've only been here since 2012, and the building's been here since 1950. So.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked the question was because if it was once a used car lot, a dealership, probably got gas or residuals in the ground, so it might be a good use for it to continue that way.
Correct. And there's no paved structure, no paved parking on this. It's all gravel. Not any sort of gravel that would resist compaction. It's pretty compact, so it's nothing. It's not going to would be considered more impervious surface on that at this point. So.
Okay, thanks.
And it is not within a watershed either. So.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, at this time, we'll offer the owner or tenant of the property a chance to comment. Staff has recommended the rezoning to the board, but does the owner wish to address the board? Okay, the board will now hear from any citizen who wishes to address the board on this subject. If anyone wish to comment, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Okay, if no one wishes to comment, is there a motion from the board to end the public comment period?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Crisco, seconded by Commissioner Henson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Comment period is closed, and unless there's further debate between the board, we'll now consider the merits of this request. Is there a motion from the board as to whether this request is consistent or inconsistent with the county's adopted land use plan?
I'll move to certify that the use is consistent with the county land use plan.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Planny, seconded by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the board has found that this request is to be consistent with the county land use plan. Having so found this request to be consistent, is there a motion to approve the rezoning request?
Motion to approve the rezoning request.
Motion made by Commissioner Henson,
Madam Chairman, I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the rezoning request RZ-06-2019 is approved. Now we move to public hearing number 2, which is RZ-07-2019. Donald and Sherry Yao from R1 to C. Next hearing is a similar rezoning of residential property on Highway 2427 from residential to commercial. This is here in RZ-07-2019. Mr. Gahagan, would you please give us your report and recommendation for this request?
Sure. The second request, RZ 07-2019, Donald and Sherry Yao are requesting the rezoning of approximately .89 acres of property from residential 1 to commercial. They're also in attendance tonight if the board has any questions. The parcel's located on NC Highway 2427 East Bisco, further defined as parcel identification number 755800852130. The planning board reviewed this matter as well on July 22nd, 2019. As before, we reviewed Article 4, Section 2.1 of the zoning ordinance that does establish the relevant policy guidelines for a rezoning request. Item A, the proposal will place all property similarly situated in the area in the same category or appropriate complementary categories. The applicant states that applicants own 2 adjoining lots that are already zoned commercial. Property across the street is also commercial and is being used as a restaurant. And also there is another property across the street and behind the parcel they're requesting for rezoning zoned as commercial. Attachment 3 is the documents that I was able to find regarding their requested rezoning of the 2 parcels next door. This rezoning request was approved by the Board of Commissioners on October 16, 2007. The property across the street used as the restaurant would be referring to Tommy's Barbecue. If you reflect at look at the current zoning map also included in the agenda packet, you can see that not only is Tommy's Barbecue zoned as commercial, a portion of the property next door to Tommy's Barbecue is also commercial. The 2 properties, the Yaos rezoned on the side of 2427 as a subject parcel, and 2 on Lemons Welding Road in addition. One is a welding shop and the other is a residential dwelling with a small outbuilding, presumably used for a hair salon. There's a sign out front that states that. I don't know if either business is still functioning, but either way, they're zoned for commercial, so they could enjoy those uses at any time. Item B, there's convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be in the general public interest, not merely in the interest of an individual or small group. Applicant states that commercial zoning will benefit the Bisco area and bring more revenue to the county. It is not immediately clear if there's any revenue increase for any proposed rezoning on this property. That would depend on eventual use of the property. Our commercial zoning districts also permit the use for residential uses as well, so it's not immediately clear if there'll be a revenue increase. However, logically, a commercial rezoning would open the property up to service-based industry that could invite more sales tax into the county. Permitted uses within the commercial district are again generally low impact, all serve community needs. That was also included as attachment 1 with this staff report. That includes items such as laundromats, restaurants, grocery stores, barber and beauty shops, things like that. Anything that would be more impactful, items like motels or building material sales, heavy farm equipment, those would all be conditional uses. Item C, there is convincing demonstration that all uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be appropriate in the area including the proposed change. The applicant states that uses permitted would be appropriate in the area due to other properties in the immediate area that are zoned as commercial. They're correct in that statement. The applicants again rezoned their 2 neighboring parcels from R1 to commercial several years ago. We do have Tommy's Barbecue, which is a functioning, very good restaurant, as well as an adjoining parcel joined as commercial. There's also the 2 on Lemon's Welding Road. Permitted uses, again, generally unobtrusive and almost all are community service-based. Any uses which may serve to be more impactful to their surrounding neighborhood would be conditional. Item D, there is convincing demonstration that the character of the neighborhood will not be materially and adversely affected by any use permitted in the proposed change. The applicant states the character of the neighborhood already contains commercial and residential properties. Again, that applicant statement is correct. Some commercial uses and zoning already exist nearby. These have existed for many years, and there's no evidence that rezoning this parcel to commercial would adversely affect the neighborhood. We do have a residentially zoned property next door to this one that does house a single-family residence. Those owners spoke at the planning board meeting and also spoke with them prior to. Their concern was regarding property values. Essentially, any use permitted in the commercial district is designed so as to not be detrimental to those. Ones that could be potentially impactful would be conditional. We do also require that a buffer strip is planted between residential uses and commercial uses to mitigate any visual impact. So that would have to be maintained or constructed to fit the standards of the ordinance. The property currently is pretty heavily vegetated. I wasn't able to access much more than the road frontage. And finally, item E, the proposed change is in accord with any land use plan and sound planning principles. The applicant states yes. As before, the future land use plan appears to support additional commercial development. It's within the same special planning area, the Sand Hills Scenic Byway. The area does have limited commercial zoning and uses already in place, and it is just outside the BISCO's extraterritorial jurisdiction, which is their ETJ, a portion of town outside of their town limits where they still maintain local growth controls through a zoning ordinance. Commercial uses in zoning districts may be more appropriate for parcels that front NC 2427, as it is a major county thoroughfare and subject to significant traffic. The planning board did review this request on July 22nd, 2019. They did find that the 5 policy guidelines stipulated by Article 4, Section 2.1 had been met, and they did find that the rezoning was consistent with the future land use plan and voted by unanimous vote of 3-0 to recommend approval of RZ 07-2019 to the Board of Commissioners. As before, they also adopted the consistency statement included in the agenda packet. Is there any questions if the board has on this as well?
Okay, Mr. Gayhagan has reviewed the request and the recommendation for approval based on the county's adopted land use plan. As detailed in the packet, this rezoning request was previously approved by the county planning board. Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Gayhagan? Okay, at this time, we'll offer the owner or tenant of the property a chance to comment. Staff has recommended the rezoning to the board, but does the owner wish to address the board?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. The board will now hear from any citizens who wishes to address the board on this subject. If anyone wishes to comment, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone from the public? Okay, if no one else wishes to comment, is there a motion from the board to end the comment period?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Crisco, seconded by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the comment period is closed, and unless there's further debate between the board, we'll now consider the merits of this request. Is there a motion from the board as to whether this request is consistent or inconsistent with the county's adopted land use plan?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Mack that it's consistent with the county use plan.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Matheny. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The board has found this request consistent with the land use plan. Having so found this request to be consistent, is there a motion to approve the rezoning request?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the rezoning request.
Motion made by Commissioner Henson,
I'll second.
seconded by Commissioner Crisco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The rezoning request RZ-07-2019 is approved. Public hearing number 3 is the request to name a dead-end section of non-municipal roadway which was recently part of the old NC Highway 2427. This is a section of road between Page Street and Glen Road, which now dead ends near the old radio station. Mr. Woodard, do you or staff wish to comment on this road naming?
Chairman, I think you summed it up fairly well. The Board of Commissioners has the authority to name any roadway that's not within the jurisdiction of a municipality or so named by the state of North Carolina. 2427 was moved from its existing road bed over to the bypass. Troy's jurisdiction ends at the top of the hill on Page Street. Their road is named Biscoe Road. Their jurisdiction ends at Page Street. That leaves about 200 yards past Page Street to the dead end as an unnamed roadway. And of course, for the two structures that are on there, if you count the radio station 3, they need a new name and a new address so emergency services can respond to them. And so the staff recommendation is to just continue the use of Biscoe Road. From the stoplight here to Page Street, Troy calls it Biscoe Road. We want to just continue that naming into the county section and pick up the address in there, so there shouldn't be any confusion for emergency services.
Are there any questions from the board for Mr. Woodard? Okay, having heard from staff, is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment on the delineation of the roadway from Page Street intersection to its termination near Glen Road as part of Biscoe Road? Okay, is there a motion from the board to close the public comment portion of this hearing?
I'll
So
make that.
moved.
Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second it then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Comment period is closed. What's the pleasure of the board to adopt the resolution naming the section of roadway as Biscoe Road and addressing it accordingly?
Madam Chairman, I move that we continue to use the name Biscoe Road for this 200-yard section.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Mack,
I'll second that.
seconded by Commissioner Henson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the roadway is now part of Biscoe Road. Mr. Woodard, would you please proceed with the county manager's report?
Chair, thank you. First action item is approval of board appointments for the Juvenile Crime Prevention, JCPC. The state sets out who the members of this advisory board will be, and so of the seat terms that are up, the county has contacted those designees, the superintendent, the sheriff, DA, county manager, for their appointments to the board. And so all of the designees have named their replacement. There are some at-large county seats, the last 6 on the list. We had about 10 applicants for those 6 positions, and working with CD, who's chairman of the JCPC board, and the sheriff and others, I'm the one that made those designations for those 6 at-large county positions. But if it pleases the board, we'll take it as one motion to approve these seat vacancies on the JCPC board.
Is there a motion from the board to fill the JCPC advisory board seats as designated on the agenda?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to fill the JCPC vacancies as designated on the agenda.
Motion made by Commissioner Henson. Is there any debate on this? If not, is there a second?
Madam Chairman, I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Mack. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The appointments are approved.
The next item is an action item as well. It is approval of the water purchase contract with the town of Robbins. As the board is very familiar with, several years ago, Robbins lost their water treatment capabilities. And so the county of Montgomery stepped up and supplied water to them, and we continued that relationship for several years. Robbins is our third largest user, and we get along very well together. Mr. Hildreth is here. He can speak to that relationship, but if it pleases the board, we would recommend a continuation of that water purchase contract in its current form.
Is there a motion from the board to approve the water purchase contract with the town of Robbins?
Move to approve the,
Motion made by
Contract with
Commissioner
Robbins.
Matheny. Is there any debate on this? If not, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Crisco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This contract is approved.
Action item number 3 is a first for me. This is the first time we've ever been able to request a no-wake or a swim zone. And I have been party to many, many requests to the state for different areas on the lakes to designate them as such. The process is we make an informal request to the Wildlife Commission. They send out the agents, they evaluate the area, and then they notify us back with what their recommendation to the state board is going to be. Everyone that I've been a part of, and there's been many, many, the recommendation is no, they're not going to close off this area or slow down this area. But thankfully, they felt differently about this one, and so this is an area in Pine Haven. The resolution's in your packet. I think it's 370 Pine Haven Drive. But we have received the approval of the agents from the Wildlife Resource Commission. So if the Board of Commissioners feels that this designation is in the interest of Montgomery County as a whole and will adopt this resolution, we will pass it to the state board, and I would think that they would grant it a no swim zone, no boat zone.
Is there a motion from the board to request a swim zone in Pine Haven?
move to adopt the resolution requesting a swim zone.
Motion made by Commissioner Matheny. Is there any debate?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Crisco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution is approved.
Action item 4 and 5 are projects in the public utility systems. The Board of County Commissioners held a work session earlier today related to these items. We have 3 big projects, the 2 booster pump stations that deliver the water from the lake up through the central part of the county, booster pump station 1 and 2, and also the chemical feed system that treats the water. These 2 projects were bid recently. Bids were much higher than anticipated. We think it's because of several things. Everybody's busy, and the state has went through a period of granting a lot of grants to counties and municipalities to do water projects, and so we usually get numerous bidders. This time we only got 3 for the booster pump stations and 2 for the chemical feed. There's a deadline on the use of this grant money, and the county received $1 million in grant money for the booster pump stations and $250,000 for the chemical feed system. However, we feel, staff feels, Chris Hildreth feels that it is in the county's best interest to not accept these bids. He has gotten approval from the state to extend our grant of $1 million for up to 6 months, and with the board's permission, he would like to rebid within that 6-month time to see if we can get more qualified bidders, and hopefully some of the work will have slowed down or been finished so we get more bidders. Mr. Hildreth, did I state that accurately?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Would you like to add anything else to it?
No, sir.
If not, Chairman, we will probably need to take them one at a time. The first one's action item number 4. The request is for the board to reject the bids for booster pump station rehab projects and for staff to rebid.
Is there a motion from the board to reject the bid for the booster pump station project and advise staff to rebid this project?
I'll
Madam
make
Chair.
that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Crisco. Is there any debate? Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Henson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And
Bid.
action item number 5 is the similar resolution to reject, the bids, not to accept the bids and to rebid the chemical feed system.
Okay, is there a motion from the board to reject the bid for the chemical feed system rehab project and advise staff to rebid that project?
I'll make that motion.
Commissioner Crisco made that motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Mack, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Both these bids are rejected.
Now, Chris can go out and get us more bidders and save us some money. The last item on the county manager's report is the staff reports, building inspections, environmental health, facilities finance, the library cooperative extension, and public utilities provide reports monthly to the Board of Commissioners on their activities. Those reports are available to the public online on the Montgomery County website under the Board of Commissioners agenda packet. But staff is here as always to answer any questions that the board may have related to their information.
Are there any questions from the board to the staff or to the county manager? If not, then do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Madam Chair, I'd like to, Mr. Woodard, there are a number of residents from Pine Haven here. In addition to the issue with the dogs, they have issue with abandoned residences. Could you kind of summarize where we stand on that for them?
I'd be delighted to. Montgomery County does not have any ordinances against junk houses. We don't have any tall grass ordinances. We really don't have any junk car ordinances. The state of North Carolina gave a blanket authority to counties under public health reasons to deal with minimum housing standards. And that is the authority that the county's been using to try to get folks to clean up abandoned houses and junk houses. But this law was intended for the building inspector to go into a home somebody was living in, and to not use it as an example, Commissioner, but to say, Commissioner Crisco, your house is not safe for you, your children, these other inhabitants. And so you're going to need to fix X, Y, and Z in order to remain here. That's what the law is for, and that's what the authority is for, and it tells the county that if the person is continuing to reside in that unsafe facility, then the county can go through the due process, which is a very lengthy, very expensive process to deny somebody their property. You can, if they won't fix it, demolish it and levy the cost back on the property. We have used this to send letters to say, hey, this abandoned house is not safe, fix it or tear it down. Well, they're not going to fix it. They're long past the state of repair. Most folks, some folks fix it. Most folks say, I'll try to get somebody to tear it down, but then when they realize the cost involved, they're looking at a financial situation not unlike the county. Am I going to spend X plus dollars to clear a property that's worth less than X? And that's usually where the process kind of grinds down. If the board remembers, it approved one demolition of a house in Biscoe that ended up costing the county, just in direct cost, over $50,000 to tear down this one house, to get it abated, to get it removed, lengthy legal process, etc. Recognizing that we have more and more abandoned homes in the county. Tax office today, we were doing our revow, and there's over 3,500 homes that people are living in that are at or below minimum housing standards, and there's many, many more that have been declared, at least on the tax record, as unsound, unstable, that nobody's living in. And so there is a proliferation of houses of this nature. Realizing that the county, if they're going to do this, needs to have a more cost-effective means than this public health law. We have asked local county attorney Russ Hollers to evaluate the possibility of the county developing a new ordinance on abandoned houses that will allow us to find the owner and not the property. This law was used most common, you may have read about it in Florida. There's several towns that charge quite a bit of fees for aesthetic things. And so Russ Hollers is working on an ordinance that we're gonna present to the board at the next retreat for the board to consider, using a fining civil mechanism to get people to clean up. So again, Commissioner Crisco, instead of me sitting down with you, going through the due process with the building inspector, I would say your house does not meet X. If you don't fix it in 60 days, you're fined $50 a day. After so many $50 a day, Russ Hollers could go to the court and ask for a judgment against you. You owe the county $5,000. At that point, the judge would say, Commissioner, you either remove this nuisance or you pay the county the money. And so that is an effective way that other municipalities and counties have used. And so that's what we're pursuing, that would require a new county ordinance written as a civil ordinance with a penalty, as opposed to this public health law for minimum housing standards. With that said, it is going to be difficult to define clearly what the board feels is right for this county. You can look at other municipalities, and some of them are strict as saying if a home is disconnected from the power grid and has no other power source, say solar, generator, whatever, within X numbers of days, it has to be demolished. And so that keeps houses taken care of and not fall in states of disrepair. As I just said, this county has thousands of homes that have been abandoned. You know, when you make laws, as this board knows, you need to make ones that are meaningful and that can apply to everybody. And so we will be bringing that information to the board moving forward. Montgomery County is a rural county. There's a lot of people that have old barns, old sheds, old structures, parents' house, grandparents' house that they're fond of. But I understand, especially in an area like Pine Haven, where you do have high density, living there is much different than living out in rural Montgomery County. Most of those high density areas have homeowners associations that can police these things, but Pine Haven unfortunately does not have that legal cohesive homeowners association to enact ordinances. And so they're dependent on the county to take up a lot of these issues. And so I know that was a long way around to get there, but we're certainly working on that, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the county manager? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Mack, second by Commissioner Crisco. Meeting adjourned.